So here is a nice 2510 telephone. I don't want to say it's Western Electric for sure, because if I flip it over, you can see that it says made in Taiwan, and it also says ROC next to it, which stands for Regional Operating Company. So it's pretty likely that this telephone was made after divestiture. But this handset here does say, flip it around, does say Bell System property, not for sale, Western Electric. So the handset is definitely a Western Electric type. It's in good working condition. You can see that I said it was a 2510, not a 2500. So you can see there's a T button here. And that's basically a flash button. So instead of flashing the switch hook like this, you can just use that button. And I can demonstrate that in a little bit. But it dials out fine. And the ringer works fine too. I'll call it here. And right now it's on its loudest setting. Now I said earlier that you could flash the switch hook simply by pressing this like this. And that's true with most telephones. It's actually not true with this telephone, which is why there's the T button here. If you do that on a normal phone, not that this phone isn't normal, but if you do it on, you know, this phone, for example, that will flash the switch hook. And if you're on a call, that'll give you a dial tone, or you can go back and forth between two parties like that if you have three-way calling. And with this telephone, in order to flash the switch hook, you have to use this button. It's not like that's, you know, an add-on feature that takes the place of flashing the switch hook, actually using the switch hook. You use this button here instead. So I can make a call now to 103. And to flash a switch hook, again, if I do this, it will hang up. Usually that's how you'd flash a switch hook. But this phone has now been hung up on, even though that was a typical 600 millisecond flash. So if we do that again, and I'll do a real flash this time using this button, and you can hear that it did indeed flash, so I can now call a different phone. And by pressing this button, I can go back and forth between this telephone here and this telephone here. You can hear there's a little popping sound, and you go back and forth just like that. And I can hang this up now. And I'll hang this up too. And that's how that flash button works. I'm not sure why they labeled it T. You might think that T would stand for touch tone or some other term that the consumer is familiar with. I would think they would use the letter F or maybe H, but they chose to use T. So again, this is a 2500 telephone. I know Western Electric was still around for quite a few years after divestiture, so it's possible that this telephone was made by Western Electric. But for example, if you go around here, you don't see the typical Bell System Western Electric logo there, like you do with this green telephone, for example. You can see it says, Bell system, Western Electric, right there. And on this telephone, it doesn't say anything, so I'm not sure why that is. For example, this telephone here is not a Western Electric 2500, but you can see that the manufacturer Conair phone is on here, and it's the same with this telephone here, which I don't have plugged in at the moment. You can see it says Cortelco, so on this telephone it's just blank. But it was made for Regional Bell Operating Company, so it's very likely that it was made by Western Electric, but at that point their vertical integration of the monopoly was split up, so it's possible that it was not.